What's up, guys? Editor Jonas here. I just wanted to let you know that while it was originally intended to be a GMPC, there are very few things missing from being a full player character, so this is essentially just 90% of the character creation process. In either case, you could take or leave various features to make it more appropriate for a GMPC, or you could add the couple of things I say we're leaving out to make a regular character. But in any case, it goes through the whole process, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you. All right, so today we are going to be putting together a DMPC or a GMPC. Essentially, the idea here is I have a character in Champions of Runeterra, and one of my players is dating this particular character. That would be Lily is dating the NPC Julian. Now, Julian is an advanced university student at one of the techmaturgical universities in Piltover, but he wasn't getting a lot of screen time, and Lily's player wanted him to have a little bit more screen time, so we used some sending stones to be able to do, calls, but that wasn't quite enough. So he is currently adventuring with the party, and I think that it is very likely that in our next session, Julian is going to have to do some fighting. So what I wanted to do was kind of walk through my approach to how I would create a character that has kind of in between a creature / NPC and an actual player in terms of power and depth. So what I want to start with is just kind of explaining my general approach to what I'm thinking about here, which is an NPC is generally reactive with low, reactive and shallow overall. Then we have a PC that should be proactive and deep overall. I guess we'll say a simple NPC. Where I view Julian as our GMPC, I view him as neutral, or I guess it would be reactive unless people are stuck. And then medium depth. So that's kind of what my personal thought are. And when I say medium depth, I mean we don't need to know literally every single possible thing about his character mechanically. I guess I should clarify mechanically. And we want to give him enough that he feels useful and like he feels like, he could be one of the players if needed. But we don't need to spend that much time on it because there's a lot of stuff that he's never going to use. So I do have some notes that I found just kind of scrolling around that I'm going to walk through later. But there are a couple of things that have to be true about Julian just to match the canon of what's been done so far. So we're going to go in order of the character creation. And this is essentially going to be as if we're creating a player character, but there are certain things I'm just going to say skip because they aren't going to be relevant or they're not going to be super duper important for that. So let's start with our origin. So our origin, it is already in our canon that Julian is a Vestayan, and he is specifically a Lotlan Vestayan, with characteristics that mix a fox and a bird. The Lotlan are Vestaya tribe, the most agile and festive. This is our Zaya, this is our Rakan, these are also Lily, and that is kind of the reason that I wanted Julian to be a Lotlan Vestayan. Now, not everything that's going to be described in the Lotlan Vestayan thing is going to be relevant, but let's see what is. Speed base of 30, that's going to be important. Now, I am not putting this on a character sheet just because the character sheets that I use are the normal D&D character sheet because I use Roll20 that doesn't have a Runarcana one, and we're leaving a lot of stuff out, so the Runarcana character sheet would be really empty. So we're just going to put a bunch of stuff in here, and then I will populate the rest of it later. So our origin, Lotlan Vestayan, we got our speed of 30, and then we want to look and see how much stuff of this matters. It does not matter the exact size, but we do care that we're medium. Vestayan Leap. When you make a range jump, the range becomes 3 times your strength score. I don't think that this is going to ever matter. because Julian is a techmaturge and he's going to have some other mechanical things that will help with his jumping anyways, so we're just going to ignore it. Plume daggers. You can use a bonus action to create 2 sharp feathers and use them as daggers, dealing your proficiency bonus as extra damage to attacks you make with them. Again, I don't think we're ever going to use it. Julian is probably going to be some kind of a gunslinger and is never going to use his daggers, so we do not need anything else from this section already. Now let's go back. We're done with our origin. Now we're going to take a look at our class. Now, I have already decided that Julian is going to be a marksman. The struggle that I have is Julian should be an artificer if this were 5th edition, or a year ago, 2 years ago, when Techmaturge was a class, he would be a Techmaturge, because he is not an acolyte of anything. He does not use magic. He is not an arcanist. He is not a bodhisattva. That's just not what he does. He is not aggressive. He's not a brute. He's not a fighter. He doesn't hunt anything. I guess we're going to give him guns so that we can have a class. Mercurial isn't his thing. Shaman is not his thing. His only big thing is that he invents things and he creates, inventions. But because we have to pick a class that's real, we're going to go with marksman. So for our class, we have marksman. And now we're going to look at all of the things that we need that, again, are relevant. Now, when we're making something that's not a full character, you don't need literally every single thing, but you also want enough that, if there's a cool, quirky feature that would be fun to use, that you include it. Now, we are going to make Julian level 5. The reason we're going to go with level 5 is I want him to have the extra attack, and that's honestly kind of it. I think anywhere from 4 through 6, maybe 7 would probably be fine for him, because our players are level 14, and I don't want him to be nearly as powerful as them, but I also know that we're taking on giant creatures, and we do not want him to get one-shot by things, because that is unfun, and we don't really want Lily to see her boyfriend get absolutely massacred in one hit. So we're going to go with level 5 as our middle ground. So hit dice is a 1d8. We'll deal with that stuff later. Proficiencies. Now, I think normally when I would make an NPC, I would just kind of pick an AC that makes sense. But I think for armor, we are going to actually go through the whole thing. So our proficiencies, some of these are relevant, some of them are not. So we are going to copy and paste these over. And then we're going to think about which things can we leave out. So skills, I get to choose 2. We're going to go with technology. And we're going to go with perception. I think he's a very perceptive guy. And he's definitely very, very technological. The rest of this is not going to be super duper relevant to how he is going to play for now. That said, if we have something else that's going to give us proficiency in something, and it only has one of these 2 options, I'm going to leave all of this here so that I know to go back and change it later. Okay, equipment does not matter because we are going to be building, a level 5 character. This starting equipment, we've already been doing some adventuring. All right, gunsmith. From first level onwards, when you become a marksman, you also become someone who not only wields a weapon and knows how to use it, but an expert who instinctively understands the capabilities and possibilities of firearms. The number of formulas you receive per craft level is based on wisdom rather than intelligence. You can use your craft and gunsmith tools to build firearms and ammunition and repair them. Additionally, any technology roll is made using wisdom instead of intelligence. Not all of that is going to be relevant, but some things that will be helpful. And I'm going to categorize it like this. So for our gunsmith feature, we're going to essentially say that crafting is wisdom, not intelligence. Tech rolls with whiz, not intelligence. And then this last bit, I'm just going to leave that as is. We can craft gunsmith tools to build firearms, ammunition, and also repair them, which is cool. Okay, so let's look at our next big feature for our gunsmith, our gunslinger, our marksman. Also at first level, the marksman is capable of shooting any firearm. Great, love that. However, every marksman has his astra. His astra is a signature weapon and the weapon through which they channel their runic essence. To define it, they must perform a 1-hour ritual with the chosen weapon. An astra receives the following, or astra? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Receives the following things. So all of these are going to be about our main weapon, which we will find later. So for now, I'm just going to leave this as a list of things for us to take a look at when we get closer. Astro doesn't work in the hands of someone else, and none of this is going to be super duper important for us. Okay, weapon mastery. Your weapon training allows you to use the weapon mastery property by choosing between simple and firearms with which you are proficient. You can choose up to 2 weapons. You can exchange weapon mastery you have for another weapon during full rest. Okay, we're not going to write about that. All right, our trail. Our path, I already know which one we're going to do. We'll look at that later. Bravery. So bravery is kind of a cool one, which is our kind of special class resource that will also allow us to do some cool stuff. So if we look at bravery up here, we have at level 5, 3 bravery. So we're going to make sure that we have that listed here, that there are 3. So we got 3 points of bravery. Then what else do we need to know? Brave points equal to the value indicated on the table. You can spend these to enhance ruse of the class. You start by knowing bravado and you learn more. You regain it on a short, long, or short or long rest. So I'll include that. You gain 1 point of bravery up to your maximum whenever you score a crit on an attack with your firearms or kill something. Cool. I think that that's something that we will use. I think having bravery will make him seem a little bit more complex instead of just he's going to keep shooting his guns. Even if you reduce the hit points of a creature to 0 with a critical hit, you only get 1, not 2. That makes sense. Okay, some ruses require you to make a saving throw to resist the effects of a cantrip. Save DC is here. Sure, we'll just make a note of that. So we're at level 2. We've got our first ruse, which is when making an attack with a firearm, you can perform it. You spend a number of bravery points to receive a bonus to your attack roll and damage roll. Great. So I can just, at any point, take a +3 to hit and a +3 to damage. Of course, that is something that we're going to keep in our GMPC because it's going to be helpful for increasing damage. Also, I enjoy playing the game, and a GMPC is one way that I can play the game for a little bit at a time. All right, Artisan Gunsmith. At 3rd level marksman, you receive specialization with the gunsmith craft, and also 2nd level in this craft, exceeding the standard craft level limit. Your evolution in this office happens again at 7th level, so we get gunsmith level 2, and that's all that means as far as things that are relevant. Awesome. So enhancement, we get an enhancement, which we will look at later. Ooh, okay. At level 5, we get extra attack, so that is going to be helpful, which is one of the reasons that we decided to stop at level 5. And then we also have, you can concentrate your runic energy to use this ruse, firing a shot at a specific region of the person's body as long as the opponent has that region you wish to target. When attacking with your Astra, you can spend 1 bravery point to add an additional effect. Saving throw or drop the item. Constitution save or disadvantage on attacks, strength or get knocked prone, con save or disadvantage on saves, and wings, they fall. Okay, cool. So I think all of this we're probably going to want just word for word, so we're just going to keep all of that together. Okay, so this is all the stuff that we need for our class, and even then, when I actually put it into a character sheet, this will all get shortened. But this is all stuff that we're going to keep for our class. Now we're going to go detailing. Character details, don't care. Languages, don't really care. He's going to speak whatever the players need him to speak. Essence and behavior. I'm not going to play with essence and behavior because a lot of it is generating a resource that I don't want to necessarily reward my own role-playing. I think it's just I need to role-play it well. For past, I think I'm actually going to leave out a past unless there is something that really, really stands out as really appropriate here. I guess inventor would be good, or a researcher. Oh, I guess he's kind of both. What would we get here? Investigation and something here. get a language, and we're not going to worry about equipment. So I guess really we're looking at is which skills am I going to get? So I've got investigation and something else, or I can do technology, which I already have, and then arcana, medicine, nature, perception. I think we're going to do researcher, because even though he's an inventor, I think that he is also like a big time nerd university student. And I think that him being a techmaturge and being an inventor is kind of newish in the last couple of years, whereas a lot of what he's done is general research. So for our background, we're going to do researcher. And then again, we're only writing the stuff that we care about, which is going to be, we are proficient in investigation and persuasion. All right, then we got pass, and then we got crafts. Now, craft, we are going to do next. And craft is our most important thing for this character, because more than anything, Julian is a techmaturge. That is his main thing. So we're going to go down to craft, techmaturgy, and let's take a look at our craft stuff. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to completely ignore the leveling system for crafts, because his whole thing is he did this before becoming an adventurer. So starting his craft progression after he has done most of his crafting experience seems weird to me. So I am going to say that as a grad student and now traveling professional techmaturge, I am going to give him techmaturgy level 5. So then we're going to go over to our formulas. Now, I'm not going to pick literally every formula that he knows, but I am going to pick a couple of them so that we can just kind of get a feel for some of the things that he knows how to make. And I'm also going to start at the bottom because I don't want to just flood him full of things. So the first one that I saw earlier that I really liked was the artillery engine. And I like to think that he doesn't carry much on him, but this is one thing that he carries. And when he sets it up in the next session with my players, this is going to be their first time seeing it. So we're going to make his little crafting formula catalog, I guess we'll call it, for our formulas. Our first one is going to be our artillery engine, and that's going to require him to be level 5, which he is. Why did this skip so much space? There we go. So the reason that I wanted the artillery engine is I don't want him to run around shooting people. I want that to be an option, but I want his primary focus in combat to be the person who is using his tools and devices that he's created to help other people. And one of the ways that I think that'd be helpful is if he could do some damage. So by expending some energy, he is going to be able to use an action while partially assembled, make a ranged attack against a creature super far away, and deal 8d6, which is awesome. The other option is if we can make a ranged attack against a creature, if it's fully assembled, 8d6 piercing, and ones nearby have to make a dex save or they take fire damage. So I think that our goal is he's going to try to get set up at points of combat ahead of time so he can set up his artillery engine. And I think that the players will think that this is a really cool thing that he can do that they haven't seen before. Now for level 4, I wanted to do one level 4, and I think the one that I wanted to do was defensive amplifier, because one of the concerns that my players have is whenever I introduce an NPC that they like is, well, we want them to travel with us, but we don't want them to die. Well, unfortunately, jumping into a bunch of combat, you might die. So we are going to give him a couple of formulas so that he can create some inventions to do some defensive work and keep him safe a little bit. So for our defensive amplifier, he can use a bonus action to gain some temporary hit points and also heal at the start of each turn, which I think will be super duper helpful to keep him alive. But then also, with some more energy, as a reaction when targeted by a projectile, you can reduce the attack's damage by a bunch, and if it's reduced to 0, you can spend extra energy to throw it back, which I just think is pretty badass. So we're going to give him this craft as well, or this formula as well. All right. Now, our last one, because I don't want to do too many, I want to think of one that would be kind of flexible in use. I think Master Craftsman Gloves makes the most sense. The thing that's kind of weird about this is one of the things that I've said a couple of times is if I'm not going to use it while I'm playing, why would I write it? I'm only going to include the stuff that's really important. But Lily often asks Julian to do crafts with them, and I would like to start using the crafting system correctly. So having the Master Craftsman's gloves that allow you to double your GP per day progress, I think would be really, really cool. And if you don't understand GP per day, you should check out the video where we talk about the crafting system. And I think that this will be a cool one. And then also you can use it to do some damage. And I think that that's kind of neat. So we'll use that as our third and final one. Is there anything that is really cool? Energy shield. You know what? I lied. I did see the energy shield when I was looking at this earlier. We're going to do that one as well. And the energy shield essentially is something that you can kind of throw and project a shield in front of you. It can't be moved, but it's there. And then as a big one, there's a force field around your armor that I think is pretty badass. So again, we just want to give more opportunities for Julian to keep himself safe. And I think 4 is enough. I think 4 is going to be plenty. So let's do heritages. Now, I acknowledge there is a crazy amount of heritages, so I actually went through and found which ones I want already. And we're going to start with bioenergy. And I realize I said the ones plural, and I want to make sure in Avastaya, do I get multiple heritage points? I have 2, and then I get another one at level 5. So actually I should get 3. I might actually only do 2, because I think that there's only 2 that I was really excited about. And if there isn't a super specific reason for me to use it, I don't think I'm going to. So the 2 heritages that I've decided for Julian are bioenergy and recognized experiment. And the reason I went with these 2 are because for a techmaturge, you charge your inventions and your devices with essentially a battery of some kind. And there are certain heritages that allow you as yourself to have access to the energy resource that these batteries get charged with. So instead of expending resources from the device, you can take it from yourself. So the important stuff here is we get proficiency bonus worth of energy points at a long rest, and we're going to get specialty. So you get proficiency in technology, and since we already have it, we're going to get specialty. So let's go back to our character, and we're going to find our heritage. Let's start off with, we've got our bioenergy, which means that. And then we're going to go back, and the other one that we wanted was recognized experiment. Now, recognized experiment, you get to choose an advantage from the variant heritage of technological progression. What that means is essentially we are going to have the ability to enhance ourselves physically with some kind of technological augmentation, which I think is going to be pretty sick. So we're, again, going to copy and paste the description of the important stuff, and let's now go and pick out which of these things we want to do. So we're going to need to go to the variant heritages, and we are going to look for technological progression. Awesome. And our options are stable or unstable when we're going with this variant heritage. And with stable, you get 1. With unstable, you get 2. We are going to go with, you get 2, but there's also a downside. We're just going to pick the one upside because we don't need to put ourselves at any extra risk. And I don't want this to become too big of a thing, because if I say, yeah, by the way, he has a bionic arm, or he's got like weird skin, like intoxicating skin, Lily will be pissed. Lily does not want to be dating a person who is half robot. Not that there's anything wrong with, people who have, body modifications and whatnot. That's awesome. Very, very cool for accessibility. But it would be strange to not know that for several years, and then all of a sudden you've been holding hands with this person and they actually had a bionic arm the whole time. You'd be a little bit surprised. So I'm going to go with a relatively tame one, which is technologically enhanced creatures have perception checks, or advantage on perception checks for hearing, smell, or sight. So we're going to do superior sense. So that's going to be it for our heritages. Now for our enhancements, I think that this is one where we're going to actually take a couple of minutes to look through what our options are. We have not done our point buy stuff yet, so I think now is a good time for us to pick our ability scores. And we're going to use a point value calculator since Runarcana uses the same stuff. And we want a max out of wisdom and dex, I think are going to be our big two things, but he's also pretty charismatic. So we're going to go all the way maxed up on wisdom. He's pretty intelligent, not very constitution strong. I don't want him to be a weak loser. And then dex. Is this enough? No, we need something to go a little bit down. I think we'll go down in charisma. And the reason I did this spread here is he's definitely super duper wise. He's also super duper intelligent. Maybe it would make more sense to do this. Yeah, because he is, he's going for a doctorate degree. That's pretty high intelligence. But because our gunsmith stuff is all wisdom instead of intelligence, that makes me want to focus more on the wisdom instead. So we're going to do 10, 12, 10, 14, 15, 11. Our stuff that we're going to assume is that we are using 10, 12, 10, 14, 15, 11 as our ability scores. So let's look and see what some options are, and we're just going to immediately yes or no them. All right, not qualified, not extra mobile, alternate focus. We're not magic, we're not magic, we're not magic, we're not magic, we're not an archer, we're not magic, we're not strong, we're not athletic. We might be attentive. We're not that heritage. We're not magic. We are not doing the whole Zaya dagger thing. We're not magic. Born explorer. No. Chain weapons is cool, but no. Clever, maybe. Nope, not that kind of clever. Don't want strength. We're not combat. We're not combat. We're not combat. You know what? We're going to try something. Is there anything if we search technology? Technological adaptation. Oh, we are the technological progression variant, though. So what would this do? We can increase a score, which we like. And then if we're stable, we get... okay, so essentially this is saying we can choose some additional advantages. I don't think that that's what I want to do. Which means our only last technological thing is who knows where. I don't even know what I want to do. I guess our other option is we choose what is going to give us wisdom, and we kind of play around that. Volatile caster, that one's not going to work. That one's not going to work. Beginning arcanist, we already looked at that one. Blessed magic doesn't work. Efficient channeling, no. Dang, we don't have a lot of options here. Insightful. Okay, great. Increase wisdom by 1. You can read the lips of a creature you can see. +5 to passive perception. That sounds awesome. We're taking it. So our enhancement is going to be insightful. Let's do a quick scan of the other wisdom stuff just in case there is something else that we like. Can't use any of these. Can't use any of these. Wow, we really aren't eligible for almost any of those. Okay, so the last thing that we would check is if there's a marksman-specific thing. And we don't have the secret of gunpowder thing, so the rest of those things aren't going to work, which is fine. So I like our enhancement that we chose. We get our wisdom increased, which means that we can bring the 15 up to a 16. And then we are also going to be able to read lips, which is cool, and we get +5 to passive perception. So he's going to be really perceptive. That's cool. I dig it. All right. Runes I think we're going to do last, just because they will probably take a good amount of time to look at and explore. Armor and shields. So our armor, we are proficient in light armor, and I want the best thing we can get, which is just going to be studded leather. I don't have anything else that I can do. We don't have anything special, and he's definitely not wearing a shield. So our studded leather AC 12 plus our dex, and our dex is 12, which is going to be a +1, which means our AC is 13. And I think that's probably fine for now. All right, then we want to look at weapons. Now, this is the thing I've been the most excited for, is what kind of guns are we giving him? When we were looking at our class, the one thing that I did skip is our trail. And our trail that we're going to do is the second to last one, which is called Desperado. Now, Desperado, I think of as like your classic gunslinger. So we're going to do a Kimbo. We can do our Astro Ritual on the second weapon, which means that both of them are going to get bonus, but not quite as much. So our big thing is going to be our akimbo. So let's go down to our character and find our gunsmith stuff. And we're going to do our path, or no, it's called a trail. And what are the things that we're looking at here? So thing number one is it's called Desperado style. Applies light firearms. You learn to use them masterfully. When using a short firearm, you gain half your proficiency bonus to attack rolls. And akimbo, we're also going to copy and paste because that's going to be a bonus for our second gun, and we're going to use 2. All right, at level 1, Duelist. You understand the principles behind duels, knowing well how to avoid being hit. If you're not wearing any armor, probably going to wear armor. Oh, also first levels of not wearing armor, wielding shield, you gain unarmored defense. Oh, hell yeah, just kidding. We're getting rid of that armor, baby. Should have looked at this first. So we've got unarmored defense, so it's 10 plus dex plus wisdom for our trail. So that's awesome. So we've got unarmored defense, which equals 10 plus dex plus wisdom, which is 14. So it's actually going to go higher. So that's good. And because we're not wearing armor, when we take the dash action, we gain half of our proficiency bonus as bonus AC and an additional 10 feet of movement that turn and an extra 5 next turn. Wow, that's fantastic. Okay. Then at level 3, and this will be the last thing we do for our class, from the 3rd level on this path, your body responds automatically to the presence of danger. You gain 10 extra feet of movement while you are unarmored or wearing light armor. Additionally, you can take the dash or disengage as a bonus action. Holy crap. Okay, so what this means is as a bonus, so we get plus 10, so instead of 30, it's 40. Then we can bonus action dash, and here it says when we dash, we get 10 extra feet, so our 40 becomes 50, and next turn it's an extra 5. So this turn it's 50, next turn it's 45, but because we've dashed, it's doubled. So instead of our 30 base feet that we thought originally, if we're dashing, we get to move 100 feet, which is awesome. So our movement speed here is actually going to be 40, and I'm going to add in the parentheses Desperado so that we can look at that later. And then the rest of this stuff we are on a high level for, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's look at our weapons. We want to find some firearms. And there are so many cool weapons here. Improper weapons. I love referring to this as an improper weapon. Okay, cool. So we are looking for something that is light, which means anything in here. Money is not an issue. We are assuming that this guy has access to lots of money. So why don't we just do the best thing? So Silver Wing Pistol may be the thing because it's 1d12, 19, and it's a triple crit. I think that's pretty cool. Vex plus slow. Let's assume that we're going to do 2 Silver Wing Pistols. All right, so let's start with our weapons. We've got this weapon. Now we should probably figure out what some of these things mean. So strength 1, we know what that is. Light, stable, burst 10. What does stable mean? Well, stable, oh, burst, there we go. All right, I don't know where stable is or what that's supposed to mean, but that's all right. Burst, weapons with a burst property are automatic or semi-automatic firearms. When firing a firearm that has a burst property, you can use your action to fire a burst of shots. In a burst, you fire a number of shots up to the maximum indicated by the number that accompanies the property. You must make an attack roll for each shot fired, and in order for each shot to be fired, you must have ammunition for it. Each attack roll after the first has -1 penalty to it, and damage cumulatively. For every 2 shots, the miss increases by 1. Oh, that's a cool way to do it. That's really cool. So if I shoot 10 times, my first shot is, let's say, normal amount to hit, normal amount damage. Second shot is -1 for both. Second shot's -2 for both. Third shot -3 for both. But also, I am going to have more likely to miss each time as well. Wow. That's cool. And what do we say our burst? Our burst is 10, so we can burst a lot. I don't think you want to burst more than like 2 or 3 times just because, you know, ammo isn't free. But that is a really, really cool feature. Ammunition, we have our normal ammunition. So the one thing that I am interested in is I don't know what stable means. Dude, I'm the GOAT. Hello! Thank you! I love you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Since you're here, I don't know how long ago this was. I feel like I'm checking pretty consistently. I'm looking at the weapons, which are freaking awesome. The burst mechanic, I have always been confused, like, what that would look like of shooting it. Okay, you're currently translating it. Okay. Could you just tell me what the word stable is meant to mean? Because I know this is the English version. I'm assuming that it's just a slightly different translated word than the whatever is showing up here in the other stuff. But I'm just curious what that might mean. Don't think it's stable. When firing a burst with a firearm that has a stable property, the shots no longer increase the air by 1 for every 2 shots. Oh, cool. Okay, great. Sweet. We will add that here so that I remember what that is. Oh, no, not really. Someone just missed it. Okay, no worries. All good. So with our fact that we're really, really good at techmaturgy, we are going to use... so our techmaturgy level is really high, but our firearm one is not. We only have level 2 gunsmith. So we're not going to be able to do a high level of this. But we are going to do the blaster enhancement 1, which is going to make it have its capacity increased by 5. After the modification, the weapon starts to fire projectiles that cost half the original ammunition value and take up less space. And firearm category grants a number of slots for adding energy sources. So we're going to just do blaster enhancement 1 and then describe those 2 things here, which is going to mean the modified weapon has its increased by 5 and uses ammo half value. Things like magic or even blacksmith more detailed. In blacksmith, that would be something like detail and orders to allies. Okay, that makes sense. That's cool. I dig that. Okay. Alrighty. The last thing we have to do is runes. And this is one I have not thought about for this particular character. So we're going to see. Preserve, provide damage reduction, damage amplification, healing, resource recovery, and adaptive usage. I want to see what resource recovery looks like and see which specific resources. And it's life, mana, or key. So not energy. So amethyst would not be good for this guy. You can do energy too, just wasn't written yet. And if you find a good fit, send me. Oh, okay, cool. Well, let's take a look at that actually then. When choosing this pulse, you must choose between hit points, mana, or key. When you kill a target with CR up to 3 levels below your level, you recover points of it. If you choose mana or key when using an attack that consumes one of the resources, it cannot be greater than these of the attack. Okay, so let's logic this out. If I'm going for my energy as myself, it doesn't scale beyond 6. The absolute max energy you can get for yourself is 6 because there are only 2 sources of it, and it's the 2 heritages. And that's at the start of each day. So we're going to imagine that the maximum pool is 6, and our pulse die can go up to a D12. Now, most of the time, we're going to assume that we're like in this middle area. So what if for energy, it's half of your pulse die rounded up? So if I do, on average, we'll assume that I get 1 at the start of the game, which means 1/6 of my pool I get back. And then later in the game when my pool is still 6, but if it's like a D12 and I roll, I think that then we're getting most of it. All right, so then the only thing that I need here is you recover half your pulse die in energy. And I think that that's a pretty reasonable amount. Okay, so we've got our pulse. Now let's go back, done with pulses, going to our runes. So if I'm level 5, I've got 1 and then 2 masteries. So let's go to our list of runes and think about which things are even doable. Amethyst. All right. Add proficiency bonus. Add proficiency bonus to damage and half to DC and pulse dice. Use half of your proficiency Using a bonus action, you can direct the wave at a target to see that can see you and is within 5 times your proficiency bonus feet of you. You mark it with a wisdom saving throw or it becomes frightened. Okay, so this one is frightened and psychic damage. Maybe. I would say frightening, not super likely for this particular character because he's a really sweet kid. Steal life. I do like him healing because we're trying to go on like a drain tank kind of thing where he himself is not a big tanky boy, but he can get energy and life from a lot of stuff. So steal life, I think, might be the thing to keep ourselves alive, and nothing else that we are eligible for at this time. So with us being only level 5 and amethyst, we have 2 choices, and we are going to go with steal life. Which means we're going to copy and paste all of this over. And then we're going to delete the stuff that we don't need. All right, so our rune is going to be steal life. Proficiency bonus, half your proficiency, which is going to be 2 at this time. You know how to steal. Okay, so when we activate it, when making a melee attack. Fuck. Can't use steal life either. So literally the only thing that we can do is fear particle. I think that maybe we just narratively only use this when Lily is like at risk of getting hurt and Julian gets really big and angry and scary. And I think that that's fine. I think that's kind of fun. So we'll take fear particle. And then what are our level ups here? Damage die category or 1 use. And then since we've got 2 mastery, we're just going to do +2 use. And I think that that'll be good. Okay. So, all of this, double checking we've got all the stuff. We have an origin. We're a lowland Vestayan. We have a class. We've got our marksman. We did all the stuff. We've got our past. We are a researcher. We did a bunch of stuff with crafts. Heritages, we chose some. We have a variant heritage. We did an enhancement. We got our runes. None of the class resources are relevant to us. We got we're not wearing armor, but we did get 2 really strong guns. And we're not going to do the rest of that stuff. Rules, we got our ability scores, adventuring, combat, magic. All of this is not a thing. We did use one of our gadgets. And we don't have anything here, and we don't have anything here. All of that means we did it. And we did it in an hour, which was the goal. So that's cool. So what I think I'm going to do now on stream is I lied. I did not realize how much of this stuff is going to go into the character sheet. So I am going to go through and put this on the character sheet. And then for the YouTube video, I'm going to edit out that. And I'm going to just make the character sheet show up at the end.